When seconds count, we're minutes away. They said, you got to do this in 7 minutes. That's 420 seconds. So, of course, I have help up here. This is Lieutenant Dan Ritchie. He's a structural engineer with Illinois Task Force 1, as well as of our fire department's dive team is in charge of that, a lieutenant. And he's also a good friend of mine. Last time I did a presentation was 5 years ago. I had a different assistant. I had my daughter up here. And she was up here, and this picture was taken a couple weeks later, or a couple days later, as we went traveling the state looking at colleges for her. And I couldn't be more proud of her as she stood up here and helped her dad give a presentation. So I want to hear a yes from everybody out here that has had a loved one that did them proud. Ready? Has anybody had a loved one that did them proud?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to try that one more time, but this time we're going to say, oh yeah, really loud so they hear us next door. Has anybody ever had a loved one that did them proud?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there we go. On August 11th of the following year, she was in an accident. She took a left-hand turn, and a car came right at her. Now, when that happened, an emergency started. Right at that time, the clock started. And in our job, when we deal with emergencies, we're up against the clock. Every second that goes by, every second steals things that are precious from us. They steal life from things that matter to us. And so, at that moment, at that car accident, there was a 911 call placed. And our dispatchers then had 60 seconds to deal with it, send it to the firehouse. They had 60 seconds to get dressed, get up, and 4 minutes to get on the scene. Because when we're talking about emergencies, and those seconds do count, when it comes to a full arrest or somebody's not breathing, the brain starts to have irreversible brain damage within the first 4 minutes, 240 seconds. After 6 minutes, is brain death. And when we're talking about house fires double every 30 seconds. And if you're not out in 3 minutes, you're not going to survive it. And in this car accident, we had to make sure that somebody gets there quickly. And so we have to have a system that's set up so that we can know that as first responders, we can show up and do the job. And Orland decided to go with the CPSE accreditation model. And so what that meant was that we had to evaluate, just like we were talking about this morning, unless we're able to measure data, unless we're able to see that data, we can't respond, we can't do our job. And so what Orland did is we used that CPSE accreditation model, and we had to look at our community. And we were able to take in data from the national level, such as demographics and stuff, and we pulled that into, and we started analyzing it as well as local data, zoning and different types of areas that people shop and they live in. And then we had to bring in our infrastructure, our hydrants, even our road networks. And we had to analyze the risk of the community that we serve, because that's what we do as first responders. We serve that community. And so we have to know where all this stuff is. But just because we know where these emergencies are and we know what could happen in this area or that area, we have to then combine that and look at the performance that we're able to do. Because in that 60 seconds that those firemen had to get out or turn out, they don't have the option of failing. And so now we then turned to what we can do as firemen, and we evaluated our historic data. We used GIS to break down our jurisdiction into blocks. And after we broke it down into blocks or planning areas, then what we did is we went ahead and we were able to use GIS to hook to many different data sets from tables, Excel sheets, to databases. And then we're able to take those data sets and turn them into so that our accreditation manager saw one data set and then analyze historical incidents, break those incidents down to EMS calls, car accidents, structure fires, and we're able to analyze and see not only where they were happening, but the performance, how fast were we getting out there, how many times they were happening, what time of day were these incidents happening in our performance on those days. And then we looked at our own performance, the geographical locations of the fire station. How far can they reach? How many calls can they get to within that 4 minutes of travel time? Because right now, those first responders are traveling to that car accident my daughter was in. And so we need to measure all these things. And to do that, we need to be able to have the tools to do that. So Dan and myself, we were able to use ArcPro and Desktop to make connections to these different databases and to bring all this data in and to analyze it. But it was just Dan and I, and this is a huge undertaking that takes place when we go through accreditation.
Now, Steve and I were the only two GIS analysts working on this project, but we had a team of people working on this accreditation. As Steve was saying, we had a lot of data to go through. We had a lot of heavy lifting to do. We needed to alleviate our workload so we could focus on analyzing the data and getting the results that we needed. So, as you can tell, Steve doesn't really like to talk. He's kind of an introvert, kind of quiet, soft-spoken. So he looked at me to talk to our accreditation team and try and bring them on board to help alleviate our workload. The tool that we used for that was ArcGIS Online. Now, our accreditation manager had zero GIS experience whatsoever. And within about a half hour of just sitting down with him, showing him where we publish our data, how we could bring our data and our results in, he was off and running on his own. He was able to create all the maps, all the images he needed for our report to show where we were meeting all of our expectations and our response times, and more importantly, where we were coming up short, where we were lacking, and where we needed to do our improvements.
So once we did all the analyzing the community risk as well as our own performance, we needed to put that in a report. We're able to generate reports, give it to our accreditation manager, then they put it together in our standards of covers and also the accreditation report. That was brought to the chiefs where they changed policy based off those reports, based off of those analytics and those measures. Brought it to our board, and those policies were voted on, and our SOPs, guidelines, and policies for the fire district then are changed. After that, we always have to have a way to then go ahead and analyze, or to reassess and reevaluate what's going on. So we created dashboards and apps so that we can see and make sure that things are still going the way they're supposed to be going. For example, this map right here shows community risk, and they can click on this and see the risk of where certain buildings are and what level, and base our inspections off of that or where we're going to go next. Now, unfortunately, we're not as bright as Philly PD, so we didn't have a non-technical guy do our live AVL feed. It was just a couple of firemen that figured out their best friend Google could teach them how to write some SQL. So we have live feed coming in of our incidents and our fire apparatus, and so this way, this dashboard can show everybody what's going on right now. But then we also need to know what our performance is doing. And so this dashboard shows daily the performance over the last 7 days. And when we take a risk analysis of our community and a risk analysis of our and we look at our performance and we put it together, we make policies and we make changes over that, we can guarantee that no matter what, if there's a chance that an individual has in a time of crisis, in time of emergency, that we will perform. And on this day, when the fire department got there, a couple minutes later, I received a phone call telling me my daughter was in a car accident and she was fine. And so, yes, unfortunately, we are minutes away when an incident happens. But because of accreditation, because of GIS, we know what to do and when to do it, so we are able to leverage and make sure that we perform with every second and making it count. And that's what we hope to do today is for the last 420 seconds, we hope we made this count.